What's up guys, it's Jay with Bearded Dad Fishing. If you're looking for the best way to motorize your fishing kayak, the Minn Kota Kayak Terrova might be the best money you could spend. It's got built-in spot lock, it's cheaper than most of the big name options out there, and in this video we're gonna show you how easy it is to install. Plus I got my boy Poppy Juice with me to help me on this install. But first, dad joke of the day, why did the motorcycle fall over? It was too tired. And that dad joke is brought to you by my son, Jesse. I love you, Poppy. Good job with that dad joke, bro. And like I mentioned, I got my boy, Poppy Juice with us. Came all the way down from Mass to help with this install. And if you haven't noticed, it's cold. I can see my breath. We probably like 20 degrees. We got the propane heater back here to warm things up a little bit. So we got the Kayak Terrova in the box. We're gonna unbox it in just a second. And we're gonna install it on the Old Town EPDL Plus 120 Pro. You might be asking why I'm gonna install it on the EPDL because it already comes motorized. However, the motor that comes on the EPDL, you know, it doesn't have spot lock, which is one of the big selling features of the Kayak Terrova. Having that spot lock where you can just hit that button and the current won't take you, the wind won't take you, you just be locked in. So you can really pick apart the areas you're fishing even if the wind is ripping. So that's a huge benefit, and that's why we're gonna put it on here. I'm not gonna run both motors at the same time. I actually have a plate that I'll put right here in the hole of the kayak where the PDL drive goes so that we can put the bow mounted motor right in front. So there's a couple things we're gonna need for this install besides the actual motor. First things first is gonna be the Minn Kota quick release bracket. So this allows you to take the motor on and off the kayak whenever you need to. So obviously I'm not gonna travel with the motor on there, so this will come in handy, allowing you to take it off quickly. Also gonna need some heat shrink tubing for the connectors. We have 8-gauge marine wiring as well. So I got a 20-foot roll. All this stuff, by the way, I'm gonna link down below in the description so you guys can purchase it. Also, we have a breaker. It's a 60 amp breaker, and this is to protect the battery. We have Anderson plugs. So we have one for the bow to connect the motor and then one for the stern to connect the battery. We also have a deploy and retracting kit for the motor. So this will allow us to be able to deploy the motor from a seated position without having to get up and get to the bow. So this is actually available from Great Bay Outfitters. My buddy Paul sent it over and he actually put this entire kit together. So I will link it down below. They're gonna have it available on their website shortly, but until then, email Paul and you'll be able to get it. They sell it for $43 with shipping included, and it's one of the best ones out there. So we're gonna install this as well. We also have a battery box for the battery, of course, and this will go in the stern of the kayak. It will also hold the breaker inside. So I got the bigger one that accommodates up to a Group 31 size battery. Ooh, she's pretty. All right, so got lots of goodies. We got wiring to connect to your graphs if you want to do that. You have your manuals, kill switch, your remote, some extra goodies in here. And of course you got your prop. And these props are pretty big, man. So if you don't already know, this is a 55-pound thrust motor. So you get a decent amount of power out of these. One of the complaints you might hear, some people wanted a more powerful option, so like a 70-pound thrust or a 24-volt option, but 55 pounds is still plenty, especially from a 12-volt battery. So, I mean, I think this definitely has enough juice. You have your remote here as well, and the actual motor itself, of course. This thing is nice. It's nice. It's a little bit bigger than I anticipated. So that's about it. Everything that you need that comes in this box. So we're ready for the install. So let's get this on the kayak.
All right, y'all. It's your boy, Poppy Juice. He gave me the name, the shorter bearded, better looking man that shows up on this channel. Wow. So the first thing we got to do is install the Minn Kota quick release bracket. What's nice about these new PDL Pro models is they already come with the 4-bolt pattern for your bracket. Your older model kayaks don't come with that. These are literally just plastic screws that just cover your threads that are molded into the kayak right here. So that way you're not having to worry about dirt or anything getting in there. And then you have your really nice new through-hole kits that came out with the new Old Towns, and these are a lot bigger than the older models. You can see like the autopilots, they have the smaller ones up there. These ones are a lot bigger, so it's going to be a lot easier to use bigger wire, like 8 gauge like we're using for motors, or using when we're doing live scope plugs and stuff like that. All right, so first thing is the motor bracket right here. It's simple. It's 2 pieces. You have this piece that holds it together, so you take that out, and then you have 2 pieces. This piece is going to go line up right with your bolt pattern here, and then this piece will get mounted on the bottom of the motor. So first things first, let's get this thing mounted to the kayak. All right, super easy to install, but just be careful because the threads, depending on your kayak, they're molded in. So I had to really start each screw slowly and then get it to go perfectly. It wasn't super easy to just drop them in. So just be careful. You don't want to strip out your threads that are molded into the kayak because then you'll have a real problem. So just take your time. If things don't line up, like I said, do each individual screw 1 turn at a time, start them all slowly, and then work them all the way around as you go down to get this nice and tight and secure. And now we're going to mount the other piece onto the motor. Alrighty guys, so we have the mounting bracket mounted to the bottom of the motor. Now, normally when you get your instructions, the motor mount that's attached to the kayak right now says to use the 4 long bolts, but the threaded inserts that are molded into the kayak, you can't use the long ones. So I use the 4 short ones here, and then I use 2 short ones and 4 long ones here that you might be able to see in here. Now, I checked it. It doesn't look like it affects the latching switch right here. As you can see, it moves up and down. You just got to watch about having to get your wrench up in there to get the locking nut all the way up in there. But you can see here, good to go. One thing you need to also remember is this pin that goes through your bolt, which side you want it on. So the reason that's important is because that pin actually, the motor will sit on here and that pin will stick out either one of these sides and go through this handle right here and lock on, which you'll see in the future. But the reason it's important is you can see here, this slides right in, you'll lock it on. But if you try the other side where our power cables are going to come through, it actually catches right here. So you want to make sure before you do all that and get done with putting the motor mount together that that metal pin threaded on your motor is on the right side. You want to make sure that it's on whichever side that you can access. Already also, motor mounts on the bottom, the side plates are back on, so it's easy as sliding this motor right on. You'll feel it sit right in place. And then you're going to take this handle right here. You're going to see the 2 holes right here. Slide that right through. Make sure you'll know if you're not lined up properly because it won't go through. And then, there you go. It goes right on. So it comes with a little cotter pin, guys. Upgrade this to a tiny little lock. Get a cheap lock. I mean, somewhat cheap, probably stainless steel because this is going to get wet. Get yourself a little stainless steel lock on here so this doesn't break off and your handle can somehow slip out. Get yourself one that comes with 2 spare keys. Put one on your car keys. Put one somewhere in your tackle bag or in your vehicle in case you lose the other one. But just make sure, definitely upgrade this to a little lock that can fit in there. But that's literally on there. You can see it is not coming off. Simple as that. So when you get off the water, undo your lock or your cotter pin, pull this handle off, and you can pull this right off, go right in your truck. Don't forget to unplug it, of course. But super easy. So now we're going to work on running the plugs and the wire. And honestly, the rest of the build is super, super simple. And we're good to go. This thing's going to be on in no time. Alrighty, so next thing we're going to worry about doing is wiring up the motor. We'll do the prop and all that other stuff, getting the remote paired up. But you can see here, it comes with some 10 gauge wire, decent length. It's got terminal plugs right here, but we're going to get rid of those and we're going to do Anderson plugs. So technically you could put a battery in your front hatch, but that's a lot of weight on the bow of a kayak, so you really want to even out the weight distribution. So we're going to run 8 gauge wire through it. Always go with 8 gauge, guys. It's always better to go bigger with wire, especially as you're running length from the battery to the motor. You don't want to lose any voltage, anything like that. So we're using Anderson plugs. Now right here on the new Old Towns, it has this through hole kit, which is great. But if you have a kayak like a Native or a New Canoe, whatever, that has the delete plates, you're going to want these kind of Andersons. And these ones will mount flush on those delete plates. But instead of drilling a hole right here, it already has a through hole kit, so the wires will come through right to an Anderson. All right, so in the new PDL Pros and EPDL Pros from Old Town, it has these metal bars going through into inserted threads in here, and what this is to put a strap in for a battery box. So our battery box is gonna run right here, and then right here is another through-hole wiring kit. So what we're gonna do is have that 8 gauge run all the way up through the kayak, out this one to another set of Anderson plugs, which will be sitting here. The other plug will be coming out of the battery and the breaker system and into, so it's just gonna plug in here, drop your battery box in, plug in here, drop the motor on, plug it up there, and you're gonna be good to go. So let's work on the front, get that wire through, and get it to the back here.
So we're running the electrical right now, so we got the end here. Jake was able to snake it up to the bow, and he's doing some cutting the ends and getting the plugs hooked up into that, and then we'll have to do the same on the other end, and then we only got a little bit left to go.
Alrighty guys, so we got the 8 gauge ran through here, the through hole kit. And you want to make sure that you crimp it really good. I got some heat shrink tubing on here just to not only keep everything clean looking, it actually helps hold everything on there just a little bit better. One thing that you should always get when you're using whatever, any type of through hole kit, you're adding stuff to your kayak, always get some Loctite, clear silicone, waterproof stuff so you can put it on the inside. I'll end up putting some on the inside, but honestly, these are the first time I've seen these new through hole kits from Old Town, but those wires are literally hugged so tight. So realistically, for at least these ones, you might not even really need it, but you always do. So we're gonna add this plug in here, add it to the motor, and then we'll be plugged in on this end, and then all we gotta do is the rear end. Alrighty, so just repeated the process, shrink tubing a little bit, crimped it both directions, both sides, so that way it just really crimps it nice and tight. And then we left all this wire on just in case. You know, it's always good to leave extra wire, and it's already tied up. You can tie it up, but it actually folds up very nicely here in the corner. But we're just going to take both sides, and there we go, just like that. So every time we take the motor on and off, unplug it right like that, and we're good to go. Put it on, plug it in, and we're ready to rock and roll. So let's go to the back of the kayak, get that 20 gauge fed up, not 20 gauge, 8 gauge fed up through, and put the Andersons on that side, and then to the battery, and we should be ready to rock and roll.
Look, Mom, I'm helping. So what Jake is working on is he's finishing up the plug that's gonna go to the battery. We've got our battery, we got our battery box, and we have our breaker that is mounted to the top of the lid for the battery. We have the bolts and the nuts right here. So I might switch these out later or trim them down a little bit. So that's gonna go to the breaker and then gonna go to the battery. A quick word on the battery. The ones I really like is this lead time battery. I've been using lead time for several years, and the reason I really like this specific one is because it's 165 amp hours. And it's a group 31 size battery. So it fits in all your standard battery boxes, group 31, but being 165 amp hours means you get a ton of juice in one package. You don't gotta carry 2 batteries. You don't even have to have a backup. This thing will go all day long. So if you're looking for something that can get you out on the water, if you're fishing tournaments, if you're fishing long distances and you need a lot of juice, these are great batteries to look at. Again, it's the 12 volt, 165 amp hour battery from Lead Time. They're about $350, give or take. So I'll put the link down below in the description so you guys can check them out. All right, so we got everything all set up. The motor's on, the battery's put together, the plugs are there. So I'm gonna walk you guys through it from back to front. So in the back, we have the battery box. Again, this is the group 31 size battery. We have the 165 amp hour Lead Time in here. So we have the breaker right here. So if anything were ever to cause an issue, this will trip, protecting the battery, protecting the motor. So we have this connected, and we use the Anderson plugs right here to connect. And this Anderson plug the wire goes all the way to the front to the trolling motor itself. So I like the Anderson plugs because they're easy, connect, disconnect, and you can also put your lithium charger with an Anderson connector, and that way you don't have to start messing around with anything. You just unplug it, plug it in to charge it, and you're good to go. So we have the box and then the wiring that went all the way up to the front where we have the actual motor itself. So we have the quick disconnect on the bottom, allowing us to take this motor on and off. Sometimes you might have another kayak And just by pulling this out, you can take your whole motor with you and you're good to go. So that's a really nice option if it's something that you're not going to leave on all the time. And you guys will see the power plug on the right hand side. Again, the Anderson connectors, just like that. We did leave some more of the length here of the power cord. If we ever need to trim that off later, we can, but right now it's not in the way. Minn Kota also provides a kill switch if you want to install it. Right now we opted to not install it on this kayak. However, the instructions are all there to do that, allowing you to be able to quick disconnect if you fall out or if you just pull the tab. And lastly, we have the deploy and retract kit. So you'll see once we bring down the actual motor, this is the kit right here. So you have this collar that's attached to the shaft of the trolling motor, and then you have two handles. You have the release handle, and then you have the lift handle, and they're both very long still because we have to trim them down to the size that we want them. However, what it allows you to do is you can run this cord on the actual lever to bring the motor back up. So what we're going to do, and this is going to be at a later date, is we're going to run this into the hull of the kayak, and then it's going to come out right here. So it's going to allow, just in the auto, like in the autopilot where you can pull it, that way you pull this down, and then with this one right here, you'll be able to bring up the motor itself from a seated position. Otherwise, you're going to have to stand up, get up to the bow of your kayak, hit the lever, and then pull it up. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and you can actually go take a spill as well. So this is a great option. Again, from Great Bay Outfitters in Jersey. I will put the information down below. It's only $43 shipped to your house. Shout out to Papi Juice for helping me on this install video. If you guys plan on buying the Minn Kota Kayak Terrova, let me know in the comments below. And if you thought this video was helpful, drop a comment, subscribe to the channel, and check out this video right here. So till next time, guys, peace and God bless.